I've watched the film Moneyball twice now, and both times I've been extremely impressed with this scene in particular. In this 2.5 minute scene, I feel that Brad Pitt and the other actors convey an enormous amount of information through subtext, through body language, and overall, I'm just amazed at how well everything here is done. So I'm gonna take some time to go through and analyze what I think is interesting here from a body language and from an acting perspective. So let's jump right in. So for context, Brad Pitt is walking to, I believe, his divorced wife's house. So he was in a marriage, they're no longer together, and they share a daughter, and he's going to pick up his daughter. And Brad Pitt's ex-wife has, I believe, a new boyfriend or a fiance. She has a new partner, and we're going to see how that interaction plays out and what that says about each character. So, before I go any further, I think it's interesting that already Brad Pitt is showing something about his character. He's very aloof. He's very nonchalant about this whole interaction. He's kind of he's doing his own thing. While he's waiting, he's just kind of nonchalantly moving about. He's just jiggling the keys back and forth. He's taking space, and he feels the freedom to kind of move and let out this energy. So yeah, it's kind of like he's got better places to be, right? He's just here because he has to, because he's trying to find a way to pick up his daughter.
Hey, Sharon.
Hi, Billy.
She ready?
She's out with friends. But she'll be back. Come in.
Okay.
Yes, right here. Hold on. Here you go.
Let me just rewind and I'll walk through that a bit more. So one thing that I think is interesting here is the lack of reactivity. So Brad Pitt's arrived, he thinks that his daughter's going to be there, and they're immediately both going to go and do some fun activities together. They end up going shopping, and he buys her a guitar, but she's not there. And he was not aware of this beforehand. He thought his daughter would be there, but she isn't. So let's see how he reacts to this new knowledge, which he was not aware of before.
Hey, Sharon.
Hi, Billy.
She ready?
She's out with friends. But she'll
So it's really non-reactive, and I think that gives him a lot of power. If his character was supposed to be perceived as weaker, I think he would have a bigger reaction to this information because he wasn't expecting this. But all we get from Brad Pitt is a slight head nod. So he accepts the new information and then goes along with it. And you can tell he's upset. He's not happy with that. But minimal reactivity. He keeps his emotions contained. I'll play it once more so you can see. So yeah, he's about to find out that his daughter's not there when he expected her to be so.
She's out with friends.
It's just a subtle head nod. And it could have been like, oh, what? She's not really? Like, you could have expected a reaction like that, but no. In this scene, we're going to see more and more that Brad Pitt takes the power. Even though Brad Pitt is coming into her house and it's more or less, it's not his territory and he's kind of an intruder, for lack of a better word, he still comes across as the dominant person. And we're going to see how he is perceived as, I suppose, he has the power in the interaction between his ex-wife's new partner and himself.
But she'll be back. Come in.
Okay.
Yes, right here. Hold on.
Again, a small thing, but he took quite a bit of time to react. When she said, come in, he took a couple seconds and then he said, okay. What I'm trying to point out here is that if you react slowly, with control, if you don't move a lot, it comes across as you having more power or being more confident than if you were to react bigger and to react more quickly. He'd be more skittish. Imagine if you said, oh, okay. Oh, she's not here? Okay, I'll come in. That's much less confident, then okay. It's a different ball game. And very shortly we're going to see in the next interaction how Brad Pitt comes across as more confident than the other actor's character.
There, want to have a seat?
Yeah.
And that's a very small thing. There's two things actually here that I perceive right away. Let me play that back. I couldn't find the male actor's name, but it's Robin Wright's partner in this scene.
There, want to have a seat?
Yeah.
It's a small thing here, but Robin Wright's partner, I need a faster way to say that. I'm gonna call him Grey Hoodie. Yep, Grey Hoodie is his name. Grey Hoodie trips a little bit. It's his house, he's comfortable here, it's his space, he should be the one who is more confident. This is his turf. But it's a small trip, which it shows that he's off balance. He's a little not quite sure how to handle this situation. Let me play that trip one more time.
There, want to have a seat?
Yeah.
Right there. There's a little half trip, which it shows that he's a little off right now. Make note of the vocal tone. If you listen to Brad Pitt versus Grey Hoodie's vocal tone, Grey Hoodie is, you want to have a seat? Would you like anything to drink? Okay. He's high, he's in his throat, he's, hey, okay, yeah, I don't, we're going to play it more and more, and you'll see that he's in a much higher area. He's more throaty, and he's higher pitched, whereas Brad Pitt is speaking with a much lower vocal tone and lower intonation.
You good, Billy?
Yeah, good. How are you, Alan?
Again, what's interesting here is how quickly both characters sit down. So Grey Hoodie sat down a lot faster than Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt took his time. He's in no rush, which gives the feeling of he's confident, this is his space, he's going to move when he wants to move and at his own pace. I'll play that back one more time. So just look at how Grey Hoodie sits down here.
Yeah.
It's a small thing, but also he's a little bit hunched over. So it's a small thing here, but Grey Hoodie is hunched over him and his arms are close to his body. Whereas if you look at Brad Pitt, he's taking up a lot more space. He's also got a straighter back than... I know he's not yet sat down, but throughout most of this interaction, Brad Pitt has a straighter back and he's taking up more space. I'll find a better frame for this. So this is a good frame which kind of showcases what I'm talking about. Brad Pitt has hands on hips. He's in a classic power pose. He's taking up space. And also, he's not looking at Grey Hoodie. This is not his house. This is not Brad Pitt's place. Grey Hoodie lives here. And despite that, he's still moving around it like he owns the place. He's not even looking at Grey Hoodie, and Grey Hoodie is taking up much less space. He's not standing as tall, and he's taking up less space than Brad Pitt.
Want to have a seat?
Have a seat? You want to have a seat? It's much higher.
Yeah.
So I want you to just take a look at how slowly Brad Pitt moves and also how much time he takes to sit down in the chair.
You good, Billy?
Yeah, good. How are you, Alan?
Good, really good. Things are...
Now, if we take a look at their body posture here, Brad Pitt is leaning back, he's taking up the whole seat, and he's got open legs. He's taking up a lot of space, and he's leaned back and he's relaxed. Whereas Grey Hoodie, hunched over him, he's got his knees pretty close in, and he's taking up a lot less space. He's more like a ball. He doesn't own the couch, whereas Brad Pitt owns the chair.
Really good. Things are peaceful around here. It's good to see you.
Thanks, Alan.
You know, I haven't got to see you since the playoffs, and I really wanted to say that New York was heartbreaking.
You know, I haven't gotten to see you since the playoffs, and I just want to say that New York was heartbreaking. You know, I'm overdoing it a little bit, but I have no doubt in my mind that this actor is intentionally raising his voice and speaking more from the throat, whereas if you take a look at Brad Pitt, he's going to be much lower and slower.
I'm sure for you too. And not many teams make it that far, and to watch you guys go that far and play that well was really an accomplishment.
Well, that's nice.
Well, that's nice. Again, also script writing perspective, Brad Pitt responds with very short, one couple word phrases. It's essentially saying you're not worth my time and your thoughts aren't really, worth me engaging in a real conversation with rapport.
Really an accomplishment.
Well,
Also, right here, you can see Grey Hoodie is stuttering on the word accomplishment, so he's not totally sure what to say. Great job acting wise. Probably wasn't intentional, but that's how it came out when he was behaving in the moment as the character. So, really, really great. Showcases that he's quite uncertain of what to do and how to go about this interaction. And Brad Pitt's ex-wife here, she's in a much more comfortable position. We are going to see that her right hand will fidget a bit sometimes when she's uncomfortable, but overall, she's taking up more space and she's, lounging around on the couch. She's in a much more, I would say, comfortable position.
How is the team shaping up?
team's good.
So I just want to highlight this extremely open body posture. Legs are spread, shoulders back. He's totally relaxed and he's taking up a lot of space. So that's what's helping Brad Pitt be perceived as more confident in this situation. And he's going to utilize that to set the ground and set the precedent for how to handle things with their daughter. So there's going to come up an argument about a cell phone use for their daughter, and Brad Pitt is coming across as more confident and thereby kind of allowing him to get some say in how that situation is handled.
Good.
I read you lost Giovanni and Damon.
Giambi,
Yeah.
Damon, Isringhausen,
They're gone?
gone.
Ah,
Yesterday's news.
It's terrible.
no, but that is.
So here, Robin Wright begins to scratch her right leg, and I perceive this as a bit of not quite sure what exactly to do here. Again, Brad Pitt thought his daughter was going to be here, and he was going to go spend the day with her. But right now, they basically just need to save face and entertain Brad Pitt until his daughter shows up.
You're gonna be fine though. You always figure something out. Where was she? Down the street or?
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Miles away.
I just talked to her in her cell. She's coming up the hill.
Really interesting example of silence here. So by not saying anything, there's an awkward tension. You don't have to say your line as soon as you hear your cue. And here that lack of dialogue, that empty space creates an awkward tension in the scene, which is just really integral to understanding what's going on here. So they did a fantastic job here. So let me play that back and just take in the silence of it's awkward, they were ex-lovers. Are they still into each other? We don't know. Who's in charge here? All these questions are kind of surfacing.
You're gonna be fine though. You always figure something out. Where was she? Down the street or?
Here's another interesting micro movement. It looks like Grey Hoodie wanted to say something, but then thought better of it. So I'm going to play it one more time and take a look at his mouth movement. He's about to say something and then decides not to for whatever reason. Again, a small thing, but he was going to say something, then decided not to, and now he's touching his nose, I believe to cover it up.
Where was she? Down the street or?
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Miles away.
I just talked to her in her cell. She's
Again, Grey Hoodie is a lot more jumpy than Brad Pitt. He's moving his hands a lot more and a lot faster than Brad Pitt is doing. Also with the thumb here. Oh, I think she went... He raises his hand abruptly down from his stomach up to his shoulder. A quick motion. When you're moving too fast, when you're too jumpy, you're perceived as more skittish, less sure, whereas Brad Pitt's not going to be moving like that. Much slower, much more controlled.
hell.
Okay.
She's got a cell phone?
Yeah.
Again, Brad Pitt did not, raise his hands in the air. She's got a cell phone? Like, he wasn't like that. Again, he basically didn't move and just said, she's got a cell phone? In a questioning tone. That was it. It didn't need to be any more. And because of that, he seems to have the power in the scene.
A 12-year-old.
Yeah.
Huh.
For emergencies.
And again, what's funny here is Brad Pitt just says, huh. And he didn't say, I can't believe you to do that. How could you give us... He's going to say that soon, but that's all he said. Just a disapproving, huh. And immediately Grey Hoodie is reacting, and he's going to try and essentially qualify to Brad Pitt and explain or justify why they've made that decision.
For emergencies.
So what's interesting, it's such a great moment. So he takes it in, Grey Hoodie takes in that disapproving, huh, and then he doesn't want there to be conflict, so he's going to basically say, by saying it's for emergencies, he's taking Brad Pitt's side in a way, because she has a cell phone, but only for emergency cases, so not really. That's basically a foot in the door towards her not having a cell phone. And also what's interesting is he looks at Robin Wright when he says this. He's not looking at Brad Pitt and saying, it's for emergencies. Like, directed towards him, this is the tone, this is why. Instead, in a high voice, he says, it's for emergencies. And then he looks at Robin Wright. So he's essentially looking for confirmation, do you agree with me, to his partner. He's not setting the tone, he's in between, and he's trying to basically navigate the situation without having a conflict.
Emergencies.
So he looks at his partner for approval of his statement.
Big parenting decision.
But it's something, we...
Grey Hoodie is not comfortable here, so he's readjusting his position. And it's in response to something Brad Pitt said. He's not comfortable enough to own his space.
We all should discuss, because if you have any objections, of course.
Also, from a blocking perspective, I think this is just beautifully done. You've got Brad Pitt in the bottom left. He's taking up nearly a fourth of the screen, so he has a lot of screen power, screen presence here. Whereas Brad Pitt's ex-wife and her partner are taking up essentially the equivalent to Brad Pitt's space, but it takes both of them to do so. Another interesting thing in terms of blocking is Robin Wright's partner is physically in between her and Brad Pitt. She's here, and then her partner is in between her and Brad Pitt. So that's really interesting. He's both physically in between them, and also in terms of this conflict over how to raise the daughter, he's in between them as well in the scene. So there's a lot of symbolic and physical thought behind everything here.
Her mother and I will discuss it. But thank you.
So that's the end of the scene there, and in response to, basically Brad Pitt has set the line, her mother and I. He's saying, this is the way things are, I'm the parent, not you, and she and I will discuss how to handle this problem. You have no say in it. You're not part of this in any way. So essentially that's a challenge, Who's in charge of the daughter's future? Well, is it me or you? And you can see that Grey Hoodie essentially backs away from the challenge. He could have asserted himself and said, it's not just your daughter. I have a say in this. She lives here. I'm a co-parent now. He could be saying something like that, but he doesn't. He smiles, kind of chuckles it off, and then leans back in the chair. He's submitting. He's going along with Brad Pitt's narrative that it's him and his ex-wife who are in charge of their daughter's future and cell phone use. They're the parents, not him. Again, also he's much more fidgety and jumpy than Brad Pitt has been throughout the scene. So for me, I think the main takeaways here were be cognizant of how fast you're moving in a scene, be cognizant of how much space you're taking up, and you can do some intentional vocal work. You can decide, should I be speaking higher in the throat? Should I be speaking lower and slower? And how many words should I be saying? I know that's more of the screenwriter who's deciding the dialogue, but Grey Hoodie has a lot more lines, and because he's saying those lines in a high voice and much faster, it comes across as less assertive than Brad Pitt, who's just giving very short responses. And because of that, he's coming across as far less confident than Brad Pitt, who's got much shorter and lower tone responses.